Hey there, this is Sara Syswerda from Pierce Cedar Creek Institute. I wanted to tell you about our latest Family Science Night Challenge. And so this is what we are kindly calling Toad Abodes, Fairy Houses, and Other Engineered Houses. And so we wanted to give you sort of a challenge to help you think about what animals or other living things might need to be able to survive. And so what this is, you at your house may want to have more living things move into your yard or into the area around your apartment or around, say, a place that you like to be at. How could we build a home that is so nice that living things would want to live there? And so when we're thinking about this, your challenge is really to put together a home for a living thing that has everything that living thing needs to survive. And so that living thing, when we're thinking about it, we want you to be kind of specific. We're going to go through our engineering design process just like we normally do. And so we're going to walk you through the steps for this. And so we're going to do our research and do some brainstorming first. And so first we want to be able to choose the living thing that you're trying to attract. And so this can be real, it could be pretend, but we want you to be able to think about what that living thing might need to survive. And so once you have that idea, you have chosen that living thing that you're trying to get. Maybe it's a plant, maybe it's a toad, maybe it's a fairy, maybe it is a roly-poly. We want you to make a drawing of what you want that home to look like, so that you have something to base your building structure on. So what you're going to need, it really depends on what your living thing is. Probably some building materials, so maybe some rocks, some sticks, some leaves, some plants, probably some water, maybe some sunlight. So particularly if you're working with plants or other living things that need light, you're probably going to need some sunlight. If you're dealing with different animals, you might need specific food. And especially if it's a pretend creature, you can pick out whatever food you think that creature might need. So if your creature is an imaginary fairy who only eats chocolate cake, you need to have chocolate cake in your design. And so thinking about that, you also need to have a location for that living thing to live in. And so picking out where you want it to be. And so that putting together that shopping list of what you're going to need or what you're going to need to gather to start doing that. Once you have your list and your picture, you can start doing your building. And so that could be, having you start with that drawing, follow along, adding the materials to that area that creature might need to survive. So if you're looking at this area, this happens to be one that got put together for birds. And so the person who was working on this, they added water, they added some birdseed in the form of bird feeders. And you could also imagine if you wanted to do this, maybe you could add a bird house, or maybe you could add plants that those birds like to sit in. And so thinking about all of those pieces that those living things might enjoy, you can arrange those materials so that they're all pretty close together so that living thing won't have to try real hard to find them. And you also could add enough material so that maybe one or even more living things could live there. And so you could build it for just one, but if you're going to build it for one, why not build it for a few more? So once you have that together, you can start maybe doing some testing. And so for this particular design, there was a water that was added, there were some plants, there were some rocks put together in here. And so they were trying to put together some maybe habitat that they thought that frog or that toad might enjoy. And so you're going to put that wherever that area is outside that you chose, that you thought this was going to go at, and make sure there aren't any barriers to your living thing arriving. If there are maybe things that might block them from getting there, like maybe things like containers or fences, or even maybe really big steps, maybe thinking about how you might be able to help those critters find your spot. once you have your living thing home built, you can go ahead and start observing. See if any of those living things you were trying to get there arrive. Maybe it's your fairy house, your toad abode, your animal home, or your plant place. But look and see, do any of those living things start using that habitat that you're building? And so habitat's really that, it's kind of a fancy word for thinking about that place where an animal might live that has the materials that they need. And then once you start observing, you can start thinking about, oh, is there anything I should change? Do I need to maybe add more water? Is it something where maybe they need more plants to be able to have shelter in? You know, is it big enough to be able to hold the living thing that you had in mind? And so you can start considering all of those sorts of questions. And then you might have to do some revisions. Maybe you have to add some things. Maybe you have to make some changes. Just figure out what you want to change and go ahead and try it again. You could even add some more homes. The change could be in the location, even where you're putting your critter home. Maybe the place you started with was too sunny or too dark, or maybe it was not close enough to the tree that maybe that toad liked to sit under. And so thinking about what you might be able to change is sort of the next step. And so this could be all sorts of things. Maybe you're looking to find a place where even you could consider for mushrooms. And so it could be where you're trying to build a home for those roly-polies. So maybe you add some mosses, some ferns, maybe some dead logs. If you're perhaps this one on the right, this is actually a ladybug house. And so maybe thinking about where different bugs or insects might live. There are lots and lots of these. The one that I tried out for this challenge was building a home for roly-polies. And so for me, roly-polies are super fun. They're actually not a bug. They're actually more closely related to a shrimp, but they're really easy to find under logs. And then you can build a nice little place for them to live and give them food and water that they can eat. You can also maybe put in different houses that might attract different things. So the house on our left here is actually a house for bees and other insects, and the one on the right is a birdhouse. And so you can think about how you might be able to add these special places that might attract more living things to your yard, and maybe even create special spaces that you can enjoy and look for these living things around you. So you go out there, have fun, go explore, and I look forward to seeing some of your creations. Be sure to share pictures with us on Facebook, or you can email them to me at syswerda@cedarcreekinstitute.org, and I will look forward to seeing all of the cool things that you are building. So go out and be adventurous and be wonderful engineers. Have a great day. Bye.